Hello guys and welcome back to another preview video. Today we're covering the top cards for the modern format from the new expansion Bloomburrow. So there aren't as many cards as Modern Horizons 3 of course, but I think that there are many interesting cards, maybe not that powerful but quietly interesting to brew with. So let's start with the first slide. As many other streamers already said, we have many cute authors with prowess. So I think the most impactful here might be Stormcatch Mentor, which is basically a Dragon Ball Z fusion between Stormchaser Mage and Goblin Electromancer. And I don't know, the art is somehow interesting. I mean, an author firing lightnings? That's odd, at least. On a boat? Is this a boat? Well, whatever. What does this author do? It has haste, same as Stormchaser Mage, prowess, same as Stormchaser Mage, but beyond that, instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 colorless mana less to cast. Same as Goblin Electromancer and Barrow Chief of Compliance. So this Stormcatch Mentor could both work as a combo piece and as a finisher. In some Storm decks, perhaps not Gruul, but Iridescent, even though people is mostly playing, well, Mono Red or Gruul Prowess later these days. But you never know what might come up with this Stormcatch Mentor. The second card is Kitsa, Otterball Elite. So this guy here has Vigilance, Prowess, like every single otter in this set. We got that. So tap, draw a card, 10 discard a card. So this thing here enables Gorbios Vengeance and Reenact the Crime. And it's a very good piece for probably reanimating shells. So also you can discard Archon of Cruelty and later persist that. And this is also a beater. So this guy reminds me somehow of Ledger Shredder, but it's way easier to trigger because it doesn't rely on other things other than himself. And it has also this little upside: 2 mana, tap, copy, target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Activate only if Kitsa's power is 3 or greater. So this might be a little difficult to actually trigger, but this is actually possible to trigger. So Kitsa is another interesting card that you can pair with, Persist, and in general I can see that being played in Reanimating Shells and Gorbios Vengeance, So Kitsa is very interesting. We also have Braya, a Riptide Rogue, but this thing here costs 4 mana, so this is probably better off as a commander. But I can see some, Iridescent Wizards, even though this guy here is a rogue and Kitsa is a wizard, and also the Stormcatch Mentor is a wizard, so this is relevant for Flame of Anor purposes. Braya, though, is a rogue, but I can see perhaps some Iridescent tempo things playing one off Braya, but alone his ability, other creatures you control have prowess, is mostly useless, so I don't really know. For sure, that's an interesting creature because prowess is always a reliable ability. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control cannot be blocked this turn. So this gives the elusiveness you might need to creatures you control that are attacking. So eventually Braya will find his way into a Magic the Gathering deck, but most probably this won't be in a modern one. Okay, so that being said, on with the next slide. Second slide, one of my favorite cards from the set is Lunar Convocation. So this is an enchantment that costs 1 white and 1 black mana. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, each opponent loses 1 life. And at the beginning of your end step, if you gained and lost life this turn. Create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. Pay 2 mana, pay 2 life, draw a card. So this thing is very, very good with Guide of Souls. Because Guide of Souls is a very strong creature that gains you some life. So the two, of course, combines well together. But how can you lose life to trigger Lunar Convocation and create one black creature with flying? So mostly with fetch lands and also with something like Dark Confidant, the old Bob. But I don't think Dark Confidant is worth playing in the modern metagame now, but there are other creatures that do some pretty similar effects to Dark Confidant. So there is even one in this expansion, so maybe you can play that over Dark Confidant. But by the way, the point is, with fetch lands and Guide of Souls, this thing is easy triggerable. And one life after another, you will be digging out your opponent's resources in a matter of a few turns. And also Black Bat creature with flying is very good, and also you can draw a card off of this directly. And if your deck is centered about gaining life, you don't really care about paying 2 life. So Lunar Convocation does 3 things all in one, almost all by herself. So this thing drains your opponent for 1. This thing creates board presence. And this thing draws you card or for 2 mana. So this thing is very, very, very interesting to brew around, and I will try to do that as soon as Bloomburrow is being released. On with the next slide. The Infamous Cruelclaw. So this is one of the main things in this expansion, I think. Probably the main villain, I guess. So this thing here is a Weasel Mercenary with Menace. So whenever the Infamous Cruelclaw does combat damage to a player, so pretty easy to trigger because this guy has Menace and is Rakdos, so you can clear the board before you attack. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. So we can try somehow to combo off with this guy. I don't know, filling the deck with Through the Breach and big fatties like Emrakul and Darkstar of Cruelty. And if you're lucky enough, you can eat them directly from the top with his ability. So it's pure fantasy. And I just think that if you want to do so, Vesuvian Drifter is just better than the Infamous Cruelclaw for a whole matter of reasons. But this guy might have some hidden potential that as of right now we are not seeing. So keep an eye on the Infamous Cruelclaw, but I don't think this guy is that worth of... I don't think this guy is modern playable at all. Maybe, keep an eye on that, but it's one of the worst in this list. On with the next one. Helga, Skittish Seer. So, if you're here on my channel, you know that I love Up the Beanstalk. And that I was so upset when they banned it, because it was a whole lot of fun, especially in Affinity. I mean, only in Affinity. It was broken in everything else. It was good in Affinity. So, Helga does pretty much the same thing as Up the Beanstalk. But it's costing us 1 more mana, and it's not drawing us card when it enters the battlefield like Up the Beanstalk. So, it's way inferior, but Helga, whenever you cast a critical spell with mana value 4 or greater, you draw a card, you gain 1 life, and you put a +1/+1 on Helga. With tap Helga, you add X mana, where X is Helga's Skittish Seer's power, spend only to cast creatures with mana value 4 or greater, or a creature spell with X in their mana cost. So, is this thing playable? Probably yes. In what shell? Probably, I don't know. band control with 4 Solitude, 4 Subtlety, and I don't know, Questing Beast? I don't know how to trigger this thing in those colors right now. Of course, Solitude and Subtlety are the most obvious options. Do I think this card is good in Affinity? Probably not, because it casts 3 specific mana and Affinity plays Darksteel Citadel and Use the Saga, so very hard to pay for this. We are probably better off playing Satoru in Affinity, but I would really love to see Affinity shine again, and Helga might be a choice for trying to revive the archetype. I don't know. This thing has some potential, but it's definitely not broken. It dies to removal, so yeah, I mean, you can bolt that, opponent gets Solitude, you get the +1/+1, and you gain 1 life, you draw a card. It might actually be hard. It's half push if you don't fetch for that to trigger the Fatal Push ability. Yeah, it's under an only hit probably. Yeah, Helga might see play, I don't know. Surely that's an insanely good art and I love this card. But will this see modern play? I don't really know. What do you guys think about that? By the way, on with the next one. So, Mistbrave Elder and Darkport Mage. So I put them together because their effect is very similar and they are good with the same cards. So, Mistbrave Elder. 1 green mana, 2/2, and at the beginning of your upkeep, return another creature you control to its owner's end. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on Mistbrave Elder. Otherwise, you may return Mistbrave Elder to its owner's hand. You may, so in the worst case scenario, you have a 2/2 and you just paid 1. Remember when Savannah Lions was good? Yeah, me too. Well, now time has passed and, you know, power scaling. So, Mistbrave Elder, how can we exploit this card? So we go turn 1, Mistbrave Elder and Ornithopter. Turn 2, beginning of our upkeep. We get back the Ornithopter. We play Satoru, okay? We play the Ornithopter, we draw 1. Turn 3, we get back the Ornithopter, we play the Ornithopter, we draw 1. You get the point here, okay? It's a 3 combo card that only gives you 1 card a turn if nobody dies. And also 3 colors because it requires black, blue, and green. So probably not worth it, but surely much interesting. Now you know that Satoru is probably one of my all-time favorite cards. I love drawing cards while playing creatures and protecting them with cheap spells, so Ninja is one of my favorite archetypes. So Mistbrave Elder might enter the deck, but I don't know. But let's talk about Darkport Mage. So this thing here has a very unique effect. Whenever 1 or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. 2 mana, tap, return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. So you can trigger this guy ability just by having this guy and another creature, and you will draw a card. So this is not bad. But in what shell could this guy shine the most? Probably in a Soul Herder shell or something like that, and you will be able to get the value off of this guy plus the guy you're blinking with Soul Herder. So I forgot to put Soul Herder in this slide, but I think Aspiring Spike talked about that, so maybe go check his video if you didn't already. So by the way, you will get double value and draw a whole lot of cards. But other than that, you know, even Ephemerate and Essence Flux and all those Phalia, the new dog from MH3, all those blink away effects are very good with Darkport Mage. And also, this isn't limited to only one trigger a turn. So you can do this how many times you like per turn. And you will always draw a card when the creature you control leaves the battlefield, so you don't even have to wait for the creature that you just ephemerated away to come back. You will just draw a card instantly. So this is very, very, very good. The only thing is that this thing says whenever one or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield. So you cannot blink him away and get a card from him. By the way, this thing is also very good with ninjutsu, because let's say I have an Ornithopter and a Direport Mage on the battlefield. I swing with the Thopter and I bring in the Moon-Circuit Hacker by ninjutsu. I will draw a card off of the Ornithopter leaving the battlefield. I will draw a card off of the Moon-Circuit Hacker, and whenever I play the Ornithopter again, if I have Satoru, I draw another card, and I will also draw another card with ninjutsu if I have Satoru. So that's a whole lot of cards that we can draw. Is this effective? Probably not. Is this cute and cool? Yes, definitely. On with the next slide. Sunspine Links. So this thing is made purely, and it's just so obvious, that this thing is made against the One Ring. Players can't gain life, well, that's okay. Damage cannot be prevented. So this thing goes through the One Ring protection. If only this were a 3 mana, let's say 3/4 Elemental Cat, this would have been so good, so good. But 4 mana, maybe that's a little bit too much. But at least that's something. At least they are trying to print something to play against the One Ring. Even if I doubt that this thing is enough. Well, it also has a decent upside. When Sunspire Links enters, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. So it's quite good, but you don't have to go greedy with your mana base. Once more, if you're hearing strange noises in the background, that's just my dog. On with the next one. Well, Darkstar Augur. So that's what I was talking about when I was talking about Dark Confident new print. So this guy has 3 mana cost, 2/3 flying with Offspring. So this is the first time we're talking about Offspring in this video. We may pay an additional 1 black mana as we cast this spell. If we do, when this creature enters, we create a 1/1 token copy of it. So for 4 mana we will have a 2/3 flying and a 1/1 flying that at the beginning of our upkeep, we reveal the top card of our library. When we put that card into our hand, we lose life equal to the mana value of that card. So if we resolve this with Offspring and no removals, we're gonna draw 2 extra cards out of Bowmasters on the next turn. So this is very huge. This is probably one of the most likely things to see modern play. This thing is very, very, very good. Well, I mean, for 3 mana you have Necropotence, so probably Darkstar Augur, it's not that great. What is my dog even doing? It's not that great, but, you know, probably still an interesting card. Next one. Huskburster Swarm. So this thing is the absolute insanely upgrade from Gourmet Gangler and Tassigur the Golden Fang. 8 mana, 6/6. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card you own in exile and in your graveyard. So, Leyline of the Void, we don't care. Dotty Voidwalker, we don't care. Nihil Spellbomb, useless. This thing will just cost less, no matter what. Minace, Death Touch. This is such a huge beater. And what kind of decks can you play that? Probably just, you know, Self-Mill, Crabvine or something. but this gonna be huge. You can cast that, I don't know, turn 3 or turn 4, costing so much less than usual, not caring about graveyard hate. This is gonna be huge. This is gonna be huge. Iridescent Vine Lasher, probably my favorite. I don't know, top 3 in my opinion. So 1 black mana, 1, 2, Offspring 2. So for 3 mana you get 2 copies of this guy. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to target opponent. So you start off Iridescent Vine Lasher past the turn. And then you go fetch, ping you for 1, grab another land, ping you for 1. I don't know, play Arboreal Grazer, put a land into the battlefield, ping you for 1, Flavor of Cultivation, grab 2 basic lands, ping you for 1, and next turn another land, ping you for 1, and it's already 5 damage out of completely nowhere. So this thing can put an insane amount of pressure on certain decks if left unchecked. Also Offspring, I mean, if you fetch under this guy while you offspringed it on turn 4, it's 4 damage. It's 4 damage. Wow. This thing here has some huge potential. Next one. Keen-Eyed Curator. So this is probably Scavenging Ooze under steroids. So what are the ups and the downs of Keen-Eyed Curator compared to Scavenging Ooze? Let's talk about downs. The mana cost. Scavenging Ooze only requires 1 green mana, while you have to pay 2 specific green mana for Keen-Eyed Curator. Also, Scavenging Ooze will gain you 1 life and get a +1/+1 if you exile a creature card with it. You won't get any life or any +1/+1 if you exile with Keen-Eyed Curator. Even though with Ooze you need a green mana to exile, colorless is required with Keen-Eyed Curator. But the big upside, other than it's just a 3/3 over a 2/2, comes from the first string of tags. As long as there are 4 or more card types among cards exiled with Keen-Eyed Curator, it gets +4, and trample. So against many decks these days, it's very easy, very easy. It's very easy to exile 4 card types. And you will have a 7/7 with trample on the battlefield? Wow, good luck with that. The only thing is that this guy costs 2 specific green mana, and I don't know if in today's Modern you want to tap out on turn 2 to play Keen-Eyed Curator, especially on the draw. This thing is probably just... I mean, if you're not playing Scavenging Ooze, you won't probably play Keen-Eyed Curator. But I don't know, that's surely an interesting card. On with the next one. Okay, so we are on the last one here, and I just have some honorable mentions. The first one is Fell. So 1 colorless, 1 black, sorcery, destroy target creature. Whatever creature you want. So no restrictions. The only thing is that this card is a sorcery. So I'm not completely sold on that. Second card from this slide is Maha, it's Feathers Knight. So it's a 5 mana black creature, 6/5, so dies to an only hit. Flying Trample, so pretty decent beater. Ward, discard a card. Creatures your opponents control have base toughness 1. So every single global removal that deals 1 damage to each opponent's creatures, like, I don't know, Electricary, -2/2, or whatever, Knight of Soul's Betrayal, Goblin Bowmasters. So you will just turn all of your opponent's creatures into useless pups. You can just kill them with whatever. Only thing is that this guy costs 5 mana, so I think you're better off probably just playing a Damnation. I don't know, but it's cool design, so maybe this is going to see some play. Next one is Valley Rotcaller. So, 1 colorless, 1 black, Menace. This guy is a squirrel. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Squirrel. I don't know. Well, whatever. 1/3 Menace. Whenever Valley Rotcaller attacks, each opponent loses X life. So each opponent. So this bypasses the One Ring. Loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of 4 squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats you control. So I think that at this point, with Chatterfang, the Augur I just showed you in the previous slide, and many other squirrels and rats that there are around, you can actually build something like a forest tribal little creature deck, and that could actually be competitive, because this guy, if you only have, let's say, 2 other squirrels and rats or whatever, it drains you for 2 and you gain 2 each turn. If you have 2 of this guy attacking together each turn, for your opponent, it's a lot of pressure and you will gain some life. So they better be ready to deal with this guy. I love Valley Rotcaller and I will try to build a forest tribal deck. I say forest because all these guys lives in the forest, so I don't know if you get the point. By the way, next one. Lumra, Bellow of the Woods, one of the legendary creatures from Bloomburrow. 6 mana, Vigilance Reach, and power and toughness are equal to the number of lands we control. Whenever Lumra enters, we mill 4 cards, then we return all the land cards from our graveyard to the battlefield tapped. The only issue I see here is that 6 mana is actually a lot and you have to commit really hard to cast this thing. It's not uncounterable, so tapping out to cast Lumra probably isn't the best thing. But if you can reanimate this somehow, I don't know how, maybe with Victimize or I don't know. There is also a quest for the Necropolis. A card from MTG that just Google that. That brings back things from the graveyard. You can get a lot of value out of Lumra, but 6 mana sounds like a lot, so I'm not entirely sold on this one. I love the art, by the way. Also, Cash Grab, Cage Grab, I don't know. 2 mana instant. Mill 4 cards. You may put a permanent card from among the cards you mill this way into your hand. If you control a squirrel or return the squirrel card to your hand this way, create a food token. So this is much like a Malevolent Rumble from MH3, but this can actually potentially be better in, I don't know, food shells, so squirrel, Valley Rotcaller, forest decks. So you're milling, so you're putting things into your graveyard, which is very good most of the times. You're playing this kind of cards, so that's very interesting. Yeah, so I probably think that's all for today. Let me see if there are more slides. No. So that's all for today. I hope you liked the video. And what is the card that you are most excited about from Bloomburrow? So looking at all the cards now, one after another, probably, I don't know, the card that I'm probably the most excited about is Lunar Convocation, I think. This card is probably very interesting to brew. And also Helga. Helga is quite decent. I love Helga. And Mistbrave Elder is probably also very interesting to brew around. Yeah, I don't know. Darkstar Augur also very good. Huskburster probably the best here. yeah, there are many interesting cards, nothing that seems broken so far. So I'm really curious to know, what do you guys think about this expansion so far? And I saw that not many common and uncommon things are being portrayed as playable from other streamers. So this expansion has for now has a pretty low power level overall, but it's actually very cool for a whole other matter of reasons. So thank you for watching, guys. Stay tuned for another video soon, this week probably. And thank you so much for watching my videos. See you soon in the next one. Goodbye, have a nice day.